Hey, look at this. I'm all by myself. But don't worry. Everybody's here. They're just not here. DLS Stars podcast is starting in just a second. And guess what? We now have a game schedule. Let's talk all about it right now with everybody not here. Cast on a Wednesday, July the 16th. Back in the studio, I'm Owen Newkirk. And yes, I'm alone in here, but I'm not alone out there, as we have a wide net around the United States today. On my screen, closest to me is Sam. And geographically, yeah, he might be now, maybe he's on. Either way, he's in New Jersey. And if you give him the full wide shot, yes, he does look like he's in the kidnapper's room again. And then in Wisconsin, and I don't even want to start with it, Craig Ludwig wearing a long sleeve shirt because it's too chilly to go t-shirt without feeling a little bit of the wet. Oh, I don't even want to get there. And then South Carolina, John Shapiro probably not wearing the hoodie today. I'm sure it's much more humid there than it is in Wisconsin. How's it going, boys? All right, we got to start with Luds. Elijah Smith, of course, our producer. I will not feel 50 degrees unless I go into a refrigerator for probably about 6 months now that we're back in Dallas. This is why you go to Wisconsin in the summer, is it not?
Yeah, it was warm yesterday here. I mean, it was 87 degrees, so, and right now I think last I looked, it was 55. So.
That's amazing.
There'll be no boating today. The only boating is a place downtown that's called what's it called? Al's Pontoon Bar. Kind of outside on the sidewalk, but it's an outdoor kind of place with a roof and everything, but it's still a little chilly out. They'll have the what are them little things called? You turn the heaters on, the outdoor heaters.
So I always say that the reason why I love going to Maine, besides being from there in the summer, is that the ideal Maine summer day is high 70s to low 80s, and then it's in the upper 50s at night. It cools off, which it doesn't do in Dallas. It sounds like that's what it does in Wisconsin, too.
Yeah, my guess is it'll be about 40 tonight.
Oh. I love it. And then going southeast, Sean, you're... I'm sure in a little bit more of a humid setting in South Carolina than up north in Wisconsin. But how's the trip? You flew there early this morning.
I think I'm actually technically the closest person to studio after you, right?
I think geographically you might be right, yes.
Yeah, geographically, if we're going to go off of that. And I guess I'm technically like 5 miles from where North Carolina meets South Carolina, to give people an idea of where I am. So, yeah, it wasn't Midwest. Michigan is its own random climate zone because of the lakes. So it was a little bit warmer than Luds had in Wisconsin. But yeah, flew down here. It's a little bit humid. And yeah, it's not bad though. I'm enjoying it, and I'm doing this show I was going to do this show from a patio, but felt too humid. So I'm inside the air conditioning.
Speaking of being inside, yes, he's locked in. Our sick guy's back. Sam missed Monday and Tuesday shows. We missed you on the What If show, especially yesterday, but you can talk today, so that's much better.
Yeah, it wasn't so much being sick. It was that I legitimately didn't have a voice. I figured Luds might like me better on the podcast with no voice, but I don't know if the fans would like me just rattling through things, but I'm happy to be back.
Well, I'm glad that we can hear you today, and I might as well get right to the main storyline now that we've gotten our pleasantries out of the way. The Stars' schedule is out, as are the rest of the teams in the NHL, as the league did their schedule release at noon Central, 1 o'clock Eastern time. They did a teaser for everybody announcing their home openers before that. And that's the first part, is that we saw both where the Stars were going to play their first game and their home opener. And of course, now we have the whole schedule out, so we'll go through it. But season opener, Luds, President's Trophy winners, home opener in Winnipeg, October the 9th, a Thursday. That's not a bad way to start the season, is to go on the road with Glenn Gulutzan and his new team up in Winnipeg.
Yeah, there's a little bit more of a rivalry maybe going after the playoffs this year. And since it's going to be in Winnipeg, it means the goaltender is probably going to be pretty good.
I think so. Anybody have any thoughts on the opening weekend where they play Thursday, Saturday at Winnipeg and at Colorado? Is going to Colorado still going to be a thing for Mikko Rantanen, or between the regular season trip and then the playoffs, is that over with for Mikko and the Avs fans?
I think it's actually more so on the fact that Colorado is the equivalent of Dallas with Edmonton. They can't seem to get past them, and it's their side of a rivalry the last few years. So it's an interesting one that they go play the two teams that they knocked off in the first two rounds. I think the bigger story for me is that Dallas gets to reunite with a foe, I would call him, with Jonathan Toews being with the Winnipeg Jets, someone who absolutely tore apart the Dallas Stars with Patrick Kane for many seasons in Chicago. So that's a really interesting story for me to start it off. And obviously we get to play the Hellebuck song multiple times on opening night.
Yeah, unfortunately, Elijah is walking back into the room, so he doesn't have his fingers on the Hellebuck drop, but I'm sure he'll find it in a minute. Sean, what about the opening two games on the road and then the home opener October the 14th, which is the following Tuesday against the Minnesota Wild?
I will say this. There we go. I will say this. Here's what I will say. I will take my moment of platform to yell at our boss for a second. There's 3.5 months before that game in Winnipeg. He's paying for the entire Cowboys team to go to Vegas. Sam Nestler needs to be in Winnipeg. If Sam Nestler is not for opening night of Glenn Gulutzan's first game, I think we've done a disservice as a company. So I'm going to take my spot right here to say all I care about from opening night is that we are checking in live with Intrepid Sam, both pre and post game from Manitoba.
Okay, Luds, then
I'm getting a text from Ben. It says you guys have all been fired.
Luds, I have to ask you, if indeed you want Sam to be in Winnipeg for the opener. Oh, we lost them both. Wow. I can't ask Sam the question. This is about Sam. Okay, Luds. How many days before the season opener in Winnipeg would Sam have to leave to guarantee that he will make it to Winnipeg for the first game on October 9th?
To be safe, I'd say leave tomorrow morning.
I'm definitely driving from North Dakota. No 2 flights this time.
Just think of how many times you're going to get sick on that trip, too.
Yeah, multiple. That's it. That's 3 days at least that you get to get in there, stuck in a hotel.
Sam, you need to go back and watch Little Seinfeld again, and you are now going to become the bubble boy. So I think if we could do that with you, you could at least make it through. I don't know how you're going to sound in the bubble, but at least we'll have you all the time.
Hey, Luds, the card says Moops.
Card says Moose?
Moops. Remember? Come on, the Seinfeld, he was playing Trivial Pursuit, and it said it was the Moors, but it was a misprint, so it said Moops.
Don't remember that part.
Oh, you got to go watch the Bubble Boy episode again.
Haven't you ever seen Seinfeld?
Stars schedule. I went through it a bit. There's some notable games for me that I wrote down, quite a few I can go through. Is there anything that stands out for you guys before I go through my list of ones that you have circled from the 82 that we're about to trek through another time with DLLS?
The only thing for me was looking at the end of the schedule. Well, there were a couple things. 20 complete days off, Olympic break, no games. They finish with, I think it's something like 23 games in 43 days. And I looked at that and I thought that 17 of those games, again, you don't ever know. 17 of those games I feel are going to be against some possible playoff teams. and just kind of putting the pressure on. And they'd be important games coming down the stretch. And I think what were there? You guys would know 11 or 12 back-to-backs throughout the season.
12.
Like that.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Looks like 12.
So I think that coming down the stretch will be important again. I think you want to get some wins in early, and but that's a lot of game. 23 games in 40, 41, 42 days or whatever it is. So, you're playing basically every other night, and after half the season's over with and coming into playoff time.
So if you add, Luds, I'm just looking at it now at the end of the Olympic break. If you add those 2 games to the March and April, it's 25 games after the Winter Olympic break. And there are 4 2 days off segments. That's it, right? Everything else is either 1 day off between games or back-to-back. So really, really tight. And remember, Pete DeBoer talked about this, or was it no, actually it was Jim Nill saying he and Pete had talked about, he felt it was really a grind after the 4 nations and he had sort of hit all the buttons he could. I know it's a new head coach with Glenn Gulletson, but I'm curious if he's learned anything from what they did with Edmonton to try to make sure that they don't feel like that push to the playoffs gets wasted on things.
Well, before Sean goes there, Sam, the only thing I would say, both teams are going to have, or all those teams are going to have the same schedule. Everybody's going to be packed in. They're not going to be the only team. So that's all I got to say.
Go ahead, Sean.
I spoke to Glenn yesterday, and we actually talked a little bit about the schedule and how things shook out. And when we were talking about the schedule, he said one of his goals for this season coming in, and something he really learned from the first time in Dallas is, and then he said he got even more of an appreciation for how difficult Stars travel is after spending some time in Alberta and Vancouver and everything like that. And he said basically, says, you don't realize how difficult the Dallas travel schedule is compared to even other teams that have tough travel schedules until you do it. And so he said one of his biggest things coming in as a coach this year, and we know Jim Nill has worked on, the Stars have been working on beefing up their sports science department, things like that. It's why the team no longer flies home the night after a game, unless there's a back-to-back, right? But so that's why the team now stays the night over. And so Glenn was really big talking to me yesterday all about how, hey, my goal, one of my jobs as a coach and as kind of the big picture guy is going to be, I need to find a way to make this the most rested team in the NHL. I need to find a way to push against the inefficiency in our geography and schedule location. And so that's going to be a big thing. And it's also something where he said it's going to apply a lot to practice, where it's not necessarily not practicing. It's going to be a little bit more of, he said, one of the things he's really learned in the past decade or so is how do you load and ramp up into practice? How do you run the right drills versus how do you run the right practices that put your team in the best spot? And that's one of the things that if Glenn's thinking about that in July, and we were talking right before the schedule came out, I think that's a good sign that your coach is looking at that. And the other note, just like on the difficulty of the Star schedule with that, and I want to give a shout out to Micah McCurdy. A lot of people know him more commonly known as Hockey Viz. He went and broke down a bunch of the schedule. The Stars have the fewest schedule wins, of the second fewest schedule wins of any team in the NHL. And by what schedule wins I mean are you're a rested team and you're playing another team that's not rested. The Stars only have 5 games this season where they're playing a team on the second game of a back-to-back, and that other team is and that other team played the night before. So while other teams, like for example, like Anaheim has 14 games where they get to be the rested team against a tired team, or Chicago gets 12 games where they're the rested team against the tired team. So Glenn is going to have a challenge coaching for various reasons, but figuring out how to manage Dallas travel and schedule and everything like that, that's probably one of the few things that you really take from his first time here and appreciation for it, that I think he's now going to apply and work with that sports science department to try to make sure they can tackle these challenges, all that. And I will stop talking so Owen can take us to ads.
Yeah, because I want to ask on the other side of this, our buddy Sam Nestler about Logan Stankoven. We'll do that next year on DLLS.
Mando is a men's deodorant brand that's hyper-focused on keeping every aspect of a man's body smelling fresh and clean. Every aspect. Mando overtly calls out more colorful parts of men's bodies, such as the pits, belly buttons, your buttocks, your bullocks, your cullions, butt cracks, grundles, the meat bridge, the continental divide, all those kind of good things. Just throw in a couple new ones for you, everybody. Like, you know what I mean by the meat bridge. Their scents are geared towards men like bourbon leather, clover woods, Mount Fuji, created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. Clinically proven to block odor all day long and control it for up to 72 hours. And the special part is 12 hours after a shower, the average men's grundle odor level is a 5 out of 10. With Mando, the average grundle odor level is a 0 out of 10. Sitting next to Sam, I agree with all of that. How do you sign up for that, right, Sands? Use code DLLS at shopmando.com.
Go ahead, Sean. You're on.
Let's talk about Empire today. Owen is in the podcast studio, so he doesn't get to sample those incredible floors that are in the other studio, right? So turn around, Owen, go give people a tour. So just like your favorite team needs a home ice advantage, your home needs a home flooring advantage, and Empire Today can help you get it. Empire Today is flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. We've all been to those big box stores. You wander endless aisles, and somehow you're hauling all these materials home, looking for an installer and coordinating everything yourself. Those big box stores might have a flooring department, but the person helping with flooring may be doing sinks yesterday, and they might be stocking light bulbs tomorrow. And you have to ask how many people it takes to plug in a light bulb here. Wow. So to schedule a free in-home estimate and avoid terrible jokes like the one I attempted today, you can. Oh my God, this is a terrible read. This one's going, John. If John was here, he'd pin this and he would punish me for it. So go ahead.
Blooper reel.
So to schedule a free in-home estimate today, because some things are just better at home, DLLS listeners can receive a $350 discount when using promo code DLLS. Yes, you heard right. A $300 discount with code DLLS. Restrictions apply. Visit EmpireToday/DLLS for full details. Pin it, plug it, roast me for it later. Go, Elijah. I deserve it. So.
All right. So as we talk about the schedule, we're going to do this for this another segment, and then we'll come back to it later if anything comes up that we want to talk about. Sam, I want to jump past one that I circled in middle of October to go to late October for you. Logan Stankoven will be with the Carolina Hurricanes coming to Dallas for the first time on October the 25th, and that was one of the first real notable ones that I had.
Yeah, I always like to see, I know this is just a selfish thing or for Stars fans, but I like when they get to see a former player that they obviously loved at home first versus watching them play them in their new team's arena. Logan's a weird one because he's not a guy that's been here for 10 years or anything, but tell me he's not going to be one of the more welcomed back players that we've seen in quite a while. I mean, the fans absolutely loved him here. They were devastated when he was traded for Rantanen. So that'll be a cool one for him to come back. I'm sure he'll get a nice warm welcome, fresh off his 8-year extension with the Carolina Hurricanes. But it's interesting. We get two reunions pretty early on, right? We get to see Mason Marchment back in at the AAC. I believe it's November 9th with the Seattle Kraken. So something to get, I guess, swept under the rug and allow those two players to move on and get that done early on. But good for, I know a lot of our fans, specifically DLS fans that I talk to a lot, love those two players more than a lot of others. So that will be an emotional night for a lot of diehards.
Yeah, you know, I forgot to go ahead, Luds.
Owen, can I ask? I want to ask Sean a question. When you were talking about those scheduled wins, I think is what you called it. And the league schedule is not easy to put out because they're tap dancing around building dates and all this other kind of stuff. But when you name those two teams, Chicago and Anaheim's going to be better this year. I guess what I immediately thought of, now if you took the top 4 to 6 teams, let's just take the top 4 teams that finish the year. Are they going to have, does it look like they have less schedule? Like you said, Dallas was 4. I'm not saying there's any favoritism, but I'm just curious how that works.
Well, there is absolutely favoritism, and I will tell you why it happens because
it is. That's what I thought.
It is driven 100. It is 100%. It is primarily driven by TV networks. So other teams that have a lot of getting teams on the second game of a back-to-back: Detroit with 13, Boston with 11, Pittsburgh with 11, Montreal with 11, Chicago with 12, as we said. So those are the teams that the networks want for the Wednesday night national TV game. We all know the NHL is a Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday league. And so if you're playing a lot of those Wednesday night games and you're one of the teams that is the marquee TV draw, Chicago, Boston, everything like that, you get a lot more Wednesdays than most teams. And therefore, you're often getting a team who just played on Tuesday night. And then so a lot of these are built into that Wednesday night schedule. So much of the league schedule is built on there's 13 to 14 games every Tuesday and Thursday, and then 3 to 4 Wednesday. So that's and the Stars, despite being a team that's gone as deep in the playoffs as they have and everything like that, they are still not a favorite of the TV audience not the TV audience. They're not a favorite of the TV decision makers over a Chicago or a Boston or anything like that. So there is favoritism at play here, and it's blatant, but I don't think it's not technically to make the schedule better, or it's not to make one team better than the other in the standings. It's TV people get a say in what games they want.
Okay, let's talk about Lud. Actually, you know what? Before we get to you, Luds, I want to ask you about Ovechkin in a second. But Sean, Radek Faksa back with the Stars will go to St. Louis with the Stars on October the 18th. I'm positive there'll be a tribute video for Logan Stankoven when he comes to play in Dallas. I don't know if Faksa 1 year in St. Louis really gets that. I don't know if that'll be quite the same member berries, will it?
I spent a year there, and I mean, you say member berries. Are we talking about the other berries that almost got slashed off this year?
Well, there's that too.
By escape blade. I mean, Radek could be the Mando reader from now on. I could how you keep certain areas clean. So
what was the word that Luds used today? The meat bridge.
Yes.
The Continental Divide. Yeah, there's a couple new ones I got in.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, just throwing some visuals out there for you people.
So, Luds, speaking of that, though, let's talk about October 28th against the Washington Capitals. Do you think that could very well be the last time Alex Ovechkin comes to Dallas?
I do. I personally think this is going to be his last year, but he's defied the odds and everything else. So maybe he has another great year, and maybe he feels like I don't know. I think Putin wants him back to play on his team back there in Russia, if there is a Russia left in another year from now. But
I thought you were kicking him out, once he got the record. I thought you were saying he's back in the KHL once he got the record. He's done.
Yeah. But again, you know what? He may be that kind of guy that's so driven he would like to extend that lead so nobody ever touches it. Which
I just wonder, do you think he wants to try to get 1,000?
Well, who wouldn't?
It would take a couple years for sure.
That's exactly what Washington wants,
to
be honest with you, because he's not going to be any faster this year than he was last year. And he's going to be in the same spot, and he's going to be out there putting some empty netters in there in the last minute and a half of a hockey game. So I don't know if that really helps Washington move ahead, coming and being a better playoff team. But we'll see.
I do think that one of the interesting things about Washington, and this is just you take the owner into account. Ted Leonsis loves Alex Ovechkin, and it's if the GM gets his say, it's probably, this is probably his last year in Washington. But you have an owner in Washington who has stated on the record before, like, we're going to keep this team competitive for Alex Ovechkin for his entire career. He's never going to play for anyone else. So it's going to be, I think Ovechkin's tenure in Washington is going to come down to how much the owner is going to keep giving the mandate of, hey, we need the greatest goal scorer of all time to never play for anyone else in the NHL. We need to keep him to keep driving ticket sales and everything like that. I really think it's whether the owner kind of puts his nose in and makes the decision, or if the GM gets to make his own call. And I think that's one of the things I'm watching with the Washington stuff for whenever Ovechkin is done there, is because I know for a fact, I've spoken to Ted Leonsis about it. He loves Ovechkin. He loves having him on that team. He loves being able to Ovechkin setting the all-time goal record, having someone on his team on the Washington Capitals setting the all-time goal record. It's probably right up there with him winning the Stanley Cup. It's not his personal achievement, but it certainly felt like it for him.
Bing bang.
Ooh, Ken Murphy, super chat with a Jamie Benn and a Craig Ludwig. Luds, back to back, sure you will say, but are they a royal pain in the ass for players? Oh, no, he said, sure you'll say it is what it is, but are they a royal pain in the ass for the players? The back-to-backs.
Yeah, I think they can be. I guess it all involves the travel. Sometimes they're easy, right? They're easier, I should say. But, and I think they don't want you having to fly cross country, obviously, to do some of these, but you'd be surprised if you're the guy that's playing a team on the second half of it. You usually can. You come for some reason you're worried about having a poor game, and so you come out of the game a little bit quicker and better than you think. And I think opponents or teams that aren't the rested teams need to realize that the biggest push is coming in the first half of the game, and you're probably going to end up being able to kind of outlast them when you get in the last 20, 15 minutes of a hockey game. So, but for the most part, these guys, again, they're so well conditioned, and at the end, the ones that would worry me is, like I said, later in the season, after, when you got a lot of games crammed in there. But I don't think, from Dallas' standpoint, it didn't seem to me there was a lot. Like, there's none in April, obviously. I don't know. March, I don't know what it was. But there's only like 3 in it for Dallas. I mean, I think their heaviest month is maybe 3, where they've got 3 back-to-backs.
So,
March is a heavy one, though.
I'm looking at this right now. Yeah. I tracked 12 back-to-backs, and in January they have, if you count the New Year's Eve, New Year's Day one as into January, then they would have 4 in January. I think that will probably be their hardest month. They have 3 back-to-backs in March. The one that's probably the most tricky is at Vancouver, then at Calgary, because they lose the time zone change on a back-to-back. They also go at Minnesota, home Vegas, which is when they get to see Mitch Marner with the Golden Knights for the first time, and then at Pittsburgh, at Philly, where you go across the state of Pennsylvania. But to me, Sam, the one that may be the most tricky, and they've done it before, is the beginning of January. They are at Carolina, at Washington, and that's not an early arrival time. After you play against the Hurricanes, I want to say that's a 3 or 4 a.m. in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, that's definitely one where they'll be sleeping in, not having any sort of skate, and those are always weird because, like you said, it's a back-to-back, and you think it's an easy travel because it's within that conference, but it's not close. I don't know the exact distance of the travel, but it's got to be at least a few hours, couple hours at least. So those are tough ones too, and it's interesting that, trying to think if they have, do teams normally play home and home back-to-backs, or is that an odd thing?
No, but Sean, you're furrowing your brow on what Sam just said.
No, I'm on both of you. What's your geography? You guys think Raleigh and Washington, D.C. aren't close to each other?
Aren't close or are close?
You're talking about like Raleigh, Washington, D.C. being a tougher back-to-back? Like,
yeah, as far as because the last time the Stars did that, they got in pretty late. It wasn't a in by midnight kind of thing.
I mean, I'm Googling right now. Let's see. Like, it's flight from, let's see how long that flight is.
I don't know.
It's only an hour and a half.
Did they have weather? Did they have something? All I know is the last time they did this, it was really tough.
I can fly from Raleigh, Durham to DC in 41 minutes. It's a 41-minute flight.
I thought it was like 2 hours away at least. So yeah, that's a lot closer.
Well, for Sam, it would take 3 days, but that's a different story.
I'm just like very confused by your geography. I'm just like, am I taking crazy pills right now? Then you're talking about this. I just wanted to make sure I was on the right page of what we're talking about.
Going back to Sam's question, now that Sean's still giggling, is that there are no home back-to-backs for the Stars. There's no times where they play 2 home games in consecutive days. I don't know if that's something the Stars requested or if it's just how the schedule shakes out with the league. There are multiple times where they play 2 road games back-to-back. Yep. That's most common occurrence. All right.
Hey, what really stinks? Let me tell you what stinks. It stinks that you have to play a game on New Year's Eve and a game on New Year's Day. And then
I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, it's not the Winter Classic.
In the air when hey, Happy New Year's, guys. You look around at the guy sitting next to you on the plane. Like,
well, that's the weird thing is that
I'm sure that a lot of that has to do with the Olympic break, and they got to get it all in there, and it is what it is. So
it's funny you say that though, Luds, because the Stars play a traditional New Year's Eve game. They've done it for a long time now, and they never play on January 1st. In fact, the only time they did play on the 1st was when they played the Winter Classic, and they didn't have their New Year's Eve game. But they will be at home against Buffalo on the 31st and then in Chicago the next night. I know, Sean, that's not a super long flight, but that is a tough one.
6 hours.
Usually the players want to play the game and then go celebrate the new year and then not play the next day. That's a tough one.
Yeah, that one is that one at least. I saw I think it was Ardell in the chat here said unless these flight times are more conducive to Spirit Airlines, which is probably why Sam was thinking about
Yeah, you have to count for the delays on the tarmac.
Count for the delays. We got to remember that the Dallas Stars do not fly Spirit Airlines. Yeah, I think is New Year's Day a Sunday? Is the Winter Classic on the 1st this year? Or is it on the
No, it's a Wednesday, Thursday, back to back.
I think it's dumb that any team, like, I think the NHL has completely depleted their own product when it comes to the Winter Classic by having other games that day. So you should have. I think what the NHL should do is I think every team except 2 should play on New Year's Eve. I think you should have every single team plays on New Year's Eve, and then except for the 2 playing the Winter Classic, and that's the only game on January 1st. That way, every player in the league, that way you get that kind of January 31st you play, you get to celebrate with your family a bit, or you're playing on New Year's and you're part of the big celebration on New Year's Day. I think that's the way it should be. The other thing about the just New Year's kind of schedule around that time of year, and I know we got to go to break in a second, but it's the other thing to note is most Canadian teams all come to the United States during that time. I think it's all every single Canadian team is because all the American teams want as many dates as possible crammed into that holiday break. While a lot of the Canadian teams, with the exception of Minnesota this year, want a setup where they're kind of like, World Junior is going on, so we can kind of push it off a little bit. So you get a lot of Canadian teams all south of the border that time, and that's why you get some of the back-to-backs there. But just make only the Winter Classic be the New Year's Day game. That's it. That's my plea. So
82 game schedule for each team. It's a 1,312 game schedule for the league. The last time they will do 82 until they change the rules again, because they'll go to 84 for 2026-27, which is the year after this one. By the way, just a quick little fun fact, the team that plays the last home opener, the latest in the season, Sam's New Jersey Devils, October 16th, against the Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers, which means they will have to play probably a week total on the road before they play their home opener. All right, up next, Sean and I haven't had a chance to talk about the Matt Dumba trade, so let's do that on DLLS.
First, let's talk about money. Finances can be messy and confusing, but Monarch Money acts like your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control so you can stop earning and start growing. It's more than just your average budgeting app. Monarch Money is a complete financial command center for all of your accounts, investments, and goals, putting everything in one place in a simple, easy to read format so you can stop just making money and start growing your money. Don't just manage it, start building wealth with 50% off your first year for DLLS listeners, because you guys are the best. Without a clear financial picture, financial dreams can feel out of reach, but Monarch Money makes managing money simple, even for the busiest of lives. Named Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025, the top recommended personal finance app by users and experts with over 30,000 5-star reviews. Over 1 million households. You can join them now. Get control of your overall finances with Monarch Money. Use code DLS at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code DLS.
Thanks, Sam. Let's talk about game time. You know, my geography and Sam's might be a little lacking, but you can use Sean's helpful flight times to figure out where you want to go now that the NHL schedule is out and start booking your trips. Maybe it's a quick one from Raleigh to Reagan National. Maybe that's the easy flight. Maybe it's going to be the across Pennsylvania, whether you go from Pittsburgh to Philadelphia, or maybe you're going to do what the Stars did a couple years ago, play in Buffalo and then play their next game out in Seattle. Either way, you need Game Time. Game Time app and website, all fantastic ways to get great deals on tickets for sports, concerts, comedy shows, theater, you name it. You have all-in pricing, seat views, lowest price guaranteed. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. You download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code DLLS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code DLLS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Hey, fellas, what time is it?
Game time.
We'll work on it.
How about that All-Star game yesterday? Speaking of game time, eh? Look at this baby I found. and chucking it around
Sam,
with the old future father-in-law down here.
My great grandfather
Sam is
might have
used.
used that mitt back in the 1930s.
Okay,
I
now it
just
makes
found it
sense.
sitting down here.
Sam is used to flight times when those gloves were commonly used in baseball. That is why Sam
That's
thinks
what
that.
that's what I
Now,
use for street
I
hockey
will
goalie.
to tell on myself a bit geography wise. When I was a child, up until I was like 10 or 11 years old, I thought the Portland Trailblazers were in Portland, Maine, and I always thought it was
Nice.
wild that a team in Maine would have all these short little trips to play the Lakers. I had no idea there was a Portland, Oregon. So that's what I was. That was my geography idiocy as a child. So
Can you imagine having a team in New England be in a division with a bunch of teams on the West Coast? That would be brutal. Bad enough when the Stars were in the Pacific.
Luds, did you have Geography 101 as one of your courses at North Dakota?
I never really could find the classroom, so apparently I should have had some kind of course.
well,
All right.
Luds had the case geography. It's about a case away. Just to give a nice throwback to the other day.
Yeah, there you go.
I knew how to get to Frenchies. That was part
All
of my
right.
bicycle, my 2-credit bicycle touring class, 2 days a week. Just so
Nice.
happened to go by Frenchie's Bar, and there used to be a truck parked there. It was a 3-hour bike ride, so we
And I
could pull into
wonder if they
Frenchie's.
ever audited the classroom for them.
No. We could. We always got to the back of the line when we took off. We could pull into Frenchie's. We could sit there for 2.5 hours or so, and then we could take the other truck and drop it off at the path where they come by, and we just jump right into the back of the line.
Perfect.
2-credit class.
Oh, man. It's amazing that diploma, right? All right. Let's talk about Matt Dumba for a minute because, well, we didn't get – you guys talked about this on Friday. Sean and I weren't on the show, so I thought this would be a great chance to give Sean, and I can add anything if we need to, your take on the Matt Dumba trade with the Pittsburgh Penguins, that the Stars officially ended the Matt Dumba era after one season.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was kind of one of those moves where we were waiting for just when it would happen. It wasn't an if, it was a when question. I think all four of us at some point said there's no way Matt Dumba is still on this team to start this campaign, to start the next season and everything like that. And I think the price was a little bit much of just it. They paid the price for a bad deal and a bad contract. Like they had to give up a second to get rid of him. And I know they got back Vladislav Kolanchuk. Owen, you're the one that's done the pronunciations on it. So
I actually want to give Sam credit. He did very well. Listen to your Friday show.
I did good.
It's Kolyachonok.
Kolyachonok. Okay.
I looked it up for a while.
Like, you get Kolyachonok back, but really, to me, the big value here was you had to pay a second-round pick to get rid of that much space. And I saw some people say online like it was a tidy piece of work by Jim Nill or whatever, and I actually disagree with that. I think it's just sometimes you make a mistake and you got to clean up your messes, and so that's what this was. It was cleaning up a mess, moving it along, and now you get to kind of see what the defense looks like with Nils Lundqvist kind of maybe healthy. We'll see what he does. And we'll see kind of my big thing just is what does a defense look like where Elaine Nasruddin gets to actually call all of the shots. Let's see what it looks like. So.
Well, to that point, do you guys think it was, I mean, it didn't work, but was it a mistake or was it worth, or let me ask you this way. Was the Dumba experience worth the trial? Was it worth taking that swing even if it didn't pan out in the end?
No.
Yeah, I would say no. I think it put them in more hot water than it helped, right? It's not like Lud said it right when we had our show, whatever day we talked about it. He didn't really get a great shot, right? He was hurt a bunch. He got, put in there and then he was injured. He had a rough start, but then he was injured. He had that super undisclosed, spooky sort of facial injury. But when you break it down, it put them in more hot water than it helped them, right? He never really, I will say this, Jim Nill believed in it. He really did. This was not a hope and pray this works out. He talked to me before the season, and then obviously a bunch in training camp and as the season started. They not only believed that Dumba could potentially be the pair for Miro Heiskanen, they also believed he could bring that physicality that he had in the past, and that he could really increase his offense again. I mean, we know, I think it was 3 or 4 years in a row in Minnesota, he had double-digit goals. He hasn't hit 7 or 8 since. Nil fully believed he would be able to find that. And whether that was because of the way the Stars played, whether that was his role playing with a Heiskanen or Harley or whoever he was going to play with, I'm not sure. But he believed in him. Now, that doesn't make it any better that it went the wrong way and turned out the way it did. But I will say this was not a let's sign this guy and hope for the best. Nil really fully believed that he was going to refine some parts of his game. And whether it was the injuries or the way the blue line worked out, it just never happened.
Hey, I did too. I thought I liked Matt Dumba when he was an opponent. Again, I know we can look at the Pavelski deal. I like that. That's the way he plays the game. I expected him to be a little bit more of that player that we keep talking about that you need back there on the back end. So that's somebody that's hard to play against. And if you want to come to the front of the net, you're going to have to get chopped on the ankle but for whatever reason it was. And I think the biggest mystery of the whole thing is the black eye, or whatever it was. I don't know if we ever really had it nailed down or whatever happened. So maybe Pete's in a better spot now. He could tell us what happened.
Yeah. The other thing, it adds to the lore of don't become friends with Jake Ottinger. All of his golf buddies, just Mason Marchment, Brendan Smith, Matt Dumba, Ty Dellandrea before him, Ty Fellhaber before there. Like, just whoever, if you want to remain in Dallas when you get there and Jake says, hey, we golf pretty frequently, you're going to say, no, I know what happens to people who golf with you. So
do you guys think, Luds, you said this on Friday's show. I was actually mowing the lawn yesterday listening to your Friday show back, and you made a great point. You've talked about this a couple times about Brendan Smith and maybe just putting him in the lineup at some point. But and Sam, you acknowledged that he was definitely a player that you lost because of usage or coaching and lack of communication. Sean made the point earlier in the segment that watching what Alain Nasruddin actually wants to do versus what he's been instructed to do could be different. Is there any chance, Sean, because Luds and Sam already talked about this, is there any chance that in a slightly different system Matt Dumba works, or is it just the age and time catching up to him?
I don't think the contract was ever going to work. I think the problem is, I think if you had Matt Dumba here, my criticism is less and less on Matt Dumba, the player. I think Matt Dumba would have been fine. Give me a little bit of that nastiness on the Brendan Smith contract. Give me a little bit of that. The problem was the contract. The problem was how much you were paying him, and just it became a level of, if you were you might as well have just kept Ryan Suter if you were gonna come and bring Matt Dumba and pay the bad amount to Matt Dumba. So
and
it was always
the buyout cost against Suter too.
Exactly. So to me, it was always that combined cost. So.
Which one of you guys has your
new bell? Do we have a new bell for Dumba?
Are we saying Pavelski and not knowing it?
Well, I thought we had a new. It was called the dumbbell for Dumba.
Somebody's device is not on quiet mode when
not
those
mine.
texts are going through. So somebody's dinging through the speakers. Is that right, Elijah?
Must be the producer.
He's not even eating today. I just want to point out there's no chips and queso for Elijah today.
Phone alert.
And you know what? That's my fault though, because I'm sending pictures of a little baby buck and a fawn and a doe. I got a whole family out in front here.
So
I've got mine's on Do Not Disturb, and that's what I always throw it on before we start. So if you're hearing dings, I'm not hearing them. So,
Sam, before we get to break, we did a segment the other day that while you were sick about Rasmus Andersson. And since we're talking about defense, I see Ardell thinks it's Luds. 100-1 odds it's Luds' phone. And then Ryan said it's Luds, LOL. Sam, and we actually just posted it as a separate video on demand on YouTube about it. But do you think Rasmus Andersson is something that the Stars should target? We've seen a lot of rumors and speculation and hearsay.
Yeah, I actually 100%. I watched the video. I 100% agreed with the way you guys looked at it. With yes, he's someone they'd love to have, but I agree with, I think Sean was the one who said it. It should be an in-season situation. I think they have plenty more to figure out before that. And in Lud's point, as soon as you guys started talking about Bischel jumping into that top 4, I started writing things down and figuring out, and I was like, what are they going to do with 4 left-handed defensemen if that is the goal they have in mind? So it's interesting to see how they were able to navigate it. But I think, Anderson's proven that he brings a little bit of size. He has a little more offensive edge, and obviously that right-handed shot that the Stars don't seem to make a big deal out of, but it eventually you're going to have someone to shoot righty in order to have a blue line. It can't be 6 lefties. So I think he's one of those players you wait on, to be totally honest. I think you see what things look like. I don't know that Calgary is trying to ship him immediately. And even if they are, the Stars can go after him on his new club if he's not signed in some extension somewhere. I think he has 1 year left on his deal. So I love the player, but I think they go into the season the way they are on the blue line and see what it looks like.
All right. The topic will carry over because now that Dumba's contract is off the books, they have some cap space again. Are they going to use it? And who might still be out there from a UFA perspective? An unsigned free agent? We'll talk about it next here on DLLS. But first, let's talk about something that we have now, which is a DLS diehard sign up. Oh, look who it is. I didn't even hear you come in because we have the doors open today. You could have this very shirt, the Wyatt Johnston 16-bit from our boss, DM Ben, making an appearance. Scan the QR code that Sean is pointing at the bottom of the screen. You can get that as your first year annual subscription free t-shirt. But there is a whole new collection, in fact, that just dropped. I don't think we have our shirts just yet, but there they are. The Dallas collection. There's a new line of merchandise available on the alldls.com website, including, look at the one in the bottom right corner, a Nolan Ryan punching Robin Ventura shirt. That's the one I picked. I think Luds is where picked the I think it's the skeleton skull and the bull or steer combination, the Dallas versus all y'all. All sorts of fun stuff there. Go to our website. If you're a DLS diehard, you get 20% off merchandise. If you haven't signed up to be a diehard yet, you could actually get one of the new Dallas collection shirts as your free t-shirt. In addition to that, we just did a What If show, top 10 Dallas Stars What If yesterday. Sean wrote an accompanying piece. Oh, look at that. There's the shirt.
Hey,
is that mine?
Who's the chubby guy behind you?
Yep. So there's the Nolan Ryan shirt. I think that one's really cool. Talk about some Dallas history.
Who's that chubby guy?
Mine. This is the one I picked out. So I'll be wearing that.
Hey, who's that little chubby guy behind you? Who's holding that shirt up? I can't see a head.
Oh, boy.
Oh.
That's the guy that let you work from Wisconsin. I think you should owe him some gratitude.
Sam, good thing is you and I are on
another cruise.
Might forget payroll this week. I don't know.
Yeah, boy, here we go. Troll City. Anyway, sign up today. Sean wrote a great piece about the What If show. That's on our website right now. Sam's doing a weekly recap every Monday, Sam, I believe. And
yep.
I finally got the DLS newsletter in my email. It wasn't working for a while. I got it yesterday and then another one today. Bobby said they figured out the glitch. We, as they say in Office Space, we fixed the glitch, which might mean Lud's paycheck just disappears. We'll get to all that coming up on DLLS. Okay. Yeah, that is pretty cool. Look at that. That's my new Dallas collection shirt right there. That's the Nolan Ryan one. So if you guys are back in studio, Luds and Sam, I believe next week, and Luds sometime to be determined, maybe never.
In 2026.
Yeah. And then Sean, maybe around the start of the Traverse City tournament, which now is in Frisco.
That's actually a great question. Luds, when do you return from Wisconsin? Because I know I will be in studio like September 12th. So will I be in studio before Luds?
Way before that.
Okay.
We'll have 4 inches of snow here in September. I'm getting out of here.
All right. So when we were talking about Matt Dumba, it got me thinking. When you guys did the Matt Dumba thing on Friday, it got me thinking. But then I went and looked this up, guys. There are still a bunch of open free agents, unsigned, on the market right now. That's kind of redundant. If you're a free agent, you're unsigned. And so the Stars have a little bit of cap space, not a ton. And I just wondered, as you look through the list of guys that are, there's some retired players out there. And maybe on another time, we'll talk about the guys that announced their retirement. Tyler Johnson, Riley Nash, Christian Fisher, Pat Maroon. We can get into that. But there are some guys out there that, to me, might be interesting for your roster if you can make the money work and make it fit. And so let me read off a couple of names that catch my eye, and then if you guys have any that you want to talk about and specifically, feel free. Jack Roslovic, Matt Grzelcyk, Victor Olofsson, maybe for nostalgia's sake, Joel Kiviranta, Luke Cunnin, and then, although Sean insists the injury thing is not a good idea, Robbie Fabry. There's some players out there that could help the Dallas Stars. Anybody, Luds, we'll start with you. Anything jump to your mind as somebody the Stars might consider if they can get them at the right price?
My think is Olofsson a right shot or is he a left shot?
He's a left.
I think
Left.
he's a lefty. Listen, the guy can put the puck in the net every once in a while. So I don't know if he's the answer up there, but I mean, I saw something today where they're talking about giving Oscar Beck a chance up there, and I'm thinking, well, maybe now that you mention it, I don't mind Roslovic either. I mean, he's more of a skill guy. He's more down the middle of the ice, though. I don't know. I think he's a centerman, natural centerman, so I'm not sure.
Yep. And a right shot.
Extra one the way it is right now. I don't think that one's going to work. I don't know. Just those names right there, I would give I'd throw Olofsson a bone.
Yeah.
John?
Olofsson would be kind of, for me, that's the most natural fit both positionally and cap-wise, right? Where I think Roslovic was coming off making $2.5 million last year. He's
2.8.
2.8. He's the guy who's got the most, has the most points last season. He's the one who, with all these teams with cap space, he's the one who is probably going to command a little bit more. Olofsson coming off closer to making $1 million. If I could get, so to me, Olofsson makes a ton of sense if you're Dallas. Hey, that's you help solidify a little bit down the left side. You get another good shot. It allows you to better slot Jamie Benn into the lineup where you think is the best way, whether it's second line, third line, however you want to play it. I'm not opposed to Roslovic. Like, if there's a world where, if the market is really cool on Jack Roslovic and you got that $2 million in cap space and you got 2 roster spots, if there's a crazy world where you could get each coming in for $1 million, I'd be thrilled with both of them. That's so, like, I'm not now. I think I admit that if Jeff Skinner's making $3 million this year from the San Jose Sharks, Jack Roslovic's gonna make more than that from somebody else, and he's just probably waiting. But if you're the Stars, I would be calling both just to see, hey, where are you? What is on things? And Olofsson makes a ton of sense, especially if you're talking about let's kind of fix an area of weakness right now in that forward core.
Yeah, I think that's the key, is that you need a little skill. They don't need to go out and get like a Cunnin or someone else, like another Blackwell type. They have plenty of those. I think if you're getting one of these guys, it's got to be the rare player that's on that line of affordable, which, as Sean just said, Olofsson was just above $1 million. The guy put 28 pucks in the net, 20 pucks in the net for a Buffalo Sabres team, and then I think he scored 15 last year. That, to me, is a no-brainer if they can make that work, because that's something that it may not be your long-term solution, and they may have to make a trade down the line or something, but that's a way to get yourself 10, 15 more goals. And like Sean said, I'm much more comfortable putting Victor Olofsson as the second line left wing than Jamie Benn or Oscar Beck. So I think that's an easy one. And then the Roslovic one, I'm agreeing with Sean 100%. I think he's gonna get more money. The funny thing with him is he's been so inconsistent that you could have teams that are a little bit hesitant, but the teams that have the space, why not give him $4 million or something like that and try it out, right?
Sam, doesn't Roslovic seem like the perfect? If you're a team like San Jose, for example, we talked about San Jose with Jeff Skinner. If you're a bad team, doesn't Roslovic make a ton of sense? It's I'm buying draft capital, right? Like, you literally make the deal with Roslovic where it's like, hey, come here for $4 million, help us get higher above the cap floor. We'll sell you at the deadline. You go off, we'll sign a 1-year deal. We'll sell you at the deadline. Like, to me, it's from a player perspective, I think Roslovic is that guy of, if you're a bad team, you're like, hey, this is a signing that can buy us a draft pick. And I think that's the deal. I would bet he signs at some point. The way John Klingberg was with Anaheim right after his first year out of Dallas, things like that.
Yep.
What I think the Skinner trade is going to be. I think Skinner is one of those where I bet he gets moved at the deadline, where some team is going to bring him in for his veteran savvy now that he has 2 playoff games, right? So that's going to happen.
Hey, Luds, I actually saw that too. It was an article on the NHL.com website where it was laying out a possible Stars forward group, and they had Oscar Beck listed as the second line center with Duchesne and Sagan, and I had to kind of like shake my head for a second because I have nothing against Oscar Beck, but there's no world where Beck is playing in your top 6, right, Luds?
Not in my world. I mean, I think, again, I have nothing against him. I didn't see a ton, especially from the off. I mean, he does his job. He up and down the wall. He gets in front of the net, and if he can be a penalty killer, he's got a good long reach, those kind of things. But yeah, I didn't see that offensive top 6. No, not for me. You know what though? I think they're looking at where Steele fits in as a centerman. I don't think you give Steele enough credit for being a little bit more versatile than what he is. But I just got a funny feeling that they maybe don't get anything, and maybe that's where. And I think Gully even mentioned that a little bit. Like they'll look at Steele up there,
right?
If the answer is not. And like I said, I think if you keep Sagan and Duchesne together, he can add that little jam on that line for those two guys.
Yeah, and the point here is how ready is Ritzkovian? Is Ritzkovian ready to jump in and be a second line wing guy and potentially give that role more so than Oscar Beck? I believe is the simple answer. But is he your solution, or is it a same thing with the defense? Is it a put him up there and wait and see? And if he's not ready to do that, maybe he's a fourth line guy. There's a tough team to jump into right now because there are spots technically, but they're more so higher level spots. They have enough bottom 6, fourth line guys. So for someone that's going to come in, they're going to need to fill that hole most likely, or the Stars are going to be filling it with Sam Steele or Jamie Benn.
Well, if we got a second here, I'd like to throw Mike Heika under the bus a little bit. Heika called me. Well, he called me this morning, and we were talking about a few different things, and he's talking to Gully this afternoon, it sounds like. But he thought we talked about that same thing, and he goes, well, my thought is we could take Tyler Sagan, and we could move Sagan over on the left-hand side. I'm like, what? And he goes, yeah, well, Tyler, he's over there, that one-timer and all that other kind of stuff. And I kind of give him my, scenario that I talked to you guys about how Duchesne and Tyler reads off of Duchesne. He likes coming down the right wall and things like that. And he yeah, you're right. All of his chances come from over there. And, so I just think that it's got to be an area that they're looking for. I think Tyler just is able to read so well off of Duchesne when they get across that offensive blue line. So, but yeah, Oscar Beck really didn't come up there to plug him into that number 2 spot up there.
I do want to throw something here to Sam on Ritzkovian, because Justin Ritzkovian screams Sam Nessler style player to me, right? Like he's the guy who in NHL preseason last year, he's fighting like he's out there fighting like it's the mid '90s and in preseason. Yep. The guy, on top of that, he's a college hockey guy. So it's Justin Ritzkovian seems to me to be the Sam Nessler pick to click if we're talking about a guy that could surprise some people and I'm not saying top 6 at all. I want to be very clear on that. Not top 6, not saying he's up there, but I think he's a guy that I think some people who maybe didn't watch Texas or pay attention to what happened with that team might be surprised. I think he's a guy who plays himself into a little bit more of that, feeling a bit of that like fan favorite guy for the right reasons down there. And I'll throw it to Sam because I feel like he fits up what Sam likes about the sport a lot. Not in a bad way, in a good way.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a good point though, because like I just said, they need to fill a hole right on that side, but they don't need someone to come in and score 25 goals either. I mean, if let's say we are talking about that second line, you have Matt Duchesne and Tyler Sagan on that line. Mason Marchment fit on that line, not because he could score, but because he could bring that other element. So if you have a guy that's going to work hard, be a little more physical, be that Stankoven type horse that's always in your face, that could fit in perfectly with those 2 super skilled guys. Or if he's not a top 6 and he's down there below, maybe he's with a Wyatt Johnston, and that's the same kind of scenario. So I think it's important to look at what type of player they need versus, hey, this is like Lud said it on one of our shows, the Stars are probably better off with one guy on each line, maybe not the top line, but of the bottom 3 line, one guy at least that can bring more of that edge, more of that physicality forecheck. If that's what they're trying to do, then look at who you have. Duchesne and Sagan are skill. That means your left wing should realistically be more grit, be more forechecking. Same thing with Johnston and Bork. That's Bork a little different, but still that's mostly skill. If that's your third line, you probably want that left wing to do the same thing. So I think it's going to be interesting to look at what are we looking at, Luds?
Well, since you had show and tell, I got show and tell. This three-legged beaver of mine that I call a dog, I went out for some venison last night and some duck, and apparently when I got back, there was something going on in one of the bedrooms and that I closed the door on, and he decided he was trying to get in. So I will be heading to the hardware store, to the lumber yard, as soon as I'm done here to do it.
Is that your bedpost?
Yeah. Well, there's more notches in my bedpost than that. Come on.
Well, there you go, guys. A show and tell to wrap up an interesting free agency talk. And of course, the schedule is out. We actually have a fun guest planned for tomorrow. Kudos to Sam. We have ESPN writer Greg Wyshynski, who will be joining us. It's a 2:00 show tomorrow. That's Thursday, July 17th. Sean won't be here for that one, but Lud, Sam, and I will be here to talk with Wish. So we hope that you will join us for that. Big thank you to all of you for tuning in. And of course, for our producer, Elijah, for getting us through the hour. Tomorrow, Greg Wyshynski joins the show 2:00 right here on DLLS.
You could
We all silly like the mayor.